Over this way is a house that is connected to famed director Rob Reiner. Two people have been found dead in that house. That's according to law enforcement sources telling CNN. Right now, we know very little. Police is saying this is an active investigation area, so we can't get any closer at this time. According to the Los Angeles Fire Department, they responded at 3:38 p.m. to a medical emergency at that address and found a 78-year-old man and a 67-year-old woman deceased on arrival. That's according to a Los Angeles Fire Department spokesperson.
The tragic ending to Rob Reiner and his wife Michele's life is absolutely shocking. It will haunt Hollywood forever. Put aside all the social engineering, your political beliefs, and understand that Rob was a nice guy. He never turned down an interview, he never turned down an autograph, and never turned down a photograph with a fan. He and I used to interact all the time. When I used to work at TMZ, he would give me an interview every single time, and we used to bond and connect over his works. And he loved the movie The Jerk as much as I did. His father directed it. There was one time in Malibu, I was working, and I spotted Rob come out of a restaurant called Olo, which used to be Coogie's. And as I approached him, I noticed he was getting into an argument with his son, Nick. It got so visceral and so bad that I retreated, and I didn't film any of it because it was way too personal and it was deeply painful for him. You could see he was visibly frustrated, and he was left alone in the parking lot and almost weeping. And I felt very sorry for him. And it was at that moment that, I realized rich, famous, successful people have the same issues as everyone else. Familial issues, issues with addiction, struggles, family dynamic, whatever it is, mental health. And so rest in peace to Rob. It's really sad to see how this wonderful man and his story turned out with such a tragic, sad ending. And thanks for the work, in particular, A Princess Bride. That movie touched all of my family's hearts. And so thank you for that. Take care, Rob, and thanks for being a nice guy.
On December 14th, 2025, a daughter crossed the street to visit her parents and walked into a nightmare that would echo through Hollywood and beyond. Michele Singer Reiner, 65 years old, and her husband Rob Reiner, 78, were lying dead in their Brentwood home. Stabbed, murdered, in the middle of a Sunday afternoon in one of the wealthiest, safest neighborhoods in Los Angeles. And here's what makes your blood run cold. As of right now, police haven't arrested anyone. They haven't even named a suspect. 2 lives brutally taken, and we're all left asking the same terrifying question. Who did this? If you're already hooked and you want to go deeper into stories that demand answers and won't let injustice hide in the shadows, do something for me right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to She's Alive, and turn on those notifications. Because when cases like this break and we don't keep the pressure on together, families suffer longer and truth gets buried. Don't let that happen. We're in this together. Let's go. Michele Singer Reiner lived a life most people only read about. Born in 1960, she grew up to become a force, not just as a photographer capturing moments that mattered, but as an activist who genuinely changed the world. When California passed Proposition 8 in 2008, trying to ban same-sex marriage, Michele didn't just tweet about it or share posts. She co-founded the American Foundation for Equal Rights alongside her husband and fought that discriminatory law all the way to the Supreme Court. And they won. Marriage equality became the law of the land partly because Michele refused to back down. She also co-founded the I Am Your Child Foundation, dedicated to early childhood development, proving that her activism wasn't limited to one cause. She saw injustice anywhere and stepped up. Her husband Rob was equally remarkable, but in different ways. You probably know him as the guy who directed some of the greatest films ever made. When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, A Few Good Men, Misery. This is Spinal Tap. Each one iconic. Each one proof that Rob understood human emotion at its deepest level. Before directing, he was an actor, playing Michael Stivic, nicknamed Meathead, on the groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family throughout the 70s. He was born into Hollywood royalty as the son of comedy legend Carl Reiner, but Rob never coasted on his father's name. He built his own empire, earned his own respect, created art that will outlive all of us. Rob and Michele married in 1989 after Rob's first marriage to director Penny Marshall ended in 1981. Together they had 3 children, Jake, Nick, and Romy, born in 1997. Rob also had a daughter, Tracy Reiner, from his marriage to Penny. By every account, this was a family that worked. They were close. They supported each other. They built something real. Their life in Brentwood reflected that closeness. The family owned 2 properties directly across the street from each other on Chadbourn Avenue. Rob and Michele lived in one. One of their daughters, along with her children, lived in the other. Imagine that setup for a moment. Grandparents steps away from grandkids. Sunday dinners that required nothing more than crossing a quiet residential street. Multi-generational love in a neighborhood where privacy and security were supposed to be guaranteed. Houses in that area go for millions, and part of what you're paying for is safety. Gates. Alarms. Distance from the chaos of the city. Brentwood is where people go to feel untouchable. December 14th should have been just another peaceful Sunday. The weather was perfect, typical Southern California sunshine. Maybe Rob and Michele had plans for a quiet afternoon at home. Maybe they were expecting family over later. We don't know their exact schedule yet, but we know how it ended. Around 3:40 in the afternoon, paramedics received a call and rushed to the Reiner home. By the time they arrived, there was nothing they could do. Both Rob and Michele were already gone. Romy, their youngest daughter, was the one who found them. Think about that. You live across the street from your parents. Maybe you pop over multiple times a day just to check in, to let the kids see grandma and grandpa. And on this particular Sunday, you walk through that familiar door and discover your mother and father have been killed. Sources close to the family confirmed that both victims appeared to have died from stab wounds. Multiple injuries. The kind of violence that speaks to rage, to something intensely personal and brutal. What goes through your mind in that moment? Do you scream? Do you freeze? Do you immediately call for help, or do you run to them first, hoping somehow you're wrong, that this isn't real? The Los Angeles Police Department's Robbery-Homicide Division took control of the scene immediately, and if you know anything about how LAPD structures its investigations, you know what that means. Robbery-homicide doesn't handle routine cases. They get called in for the complex ones, the high-profile ones, the murders that will make national headlines and require the most experienced detectives the department has. Within hours, the entire 200 block of Chadbourn Avenue was transformed. Yellow crime scene tape stretched across manicured lawns. Police vehicles lined both sides of the street. Neighbors who had lived peacefully alongside the Reiners for years stood outside their homes watching investigators move in and out, trying to comprehend how something this violent could happen here. Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton faced reporters Sunday night, and you could see the weight of this case already settling on him. He confirmed the worst. Rob and Michele Reiner were dead, and detectives were treating their deaths as homicides. But then he said something that created more questions than answers. No suspect had been identified. Nobody was in custody. They were not actively searching for any person of interest. Now pause right there with me for a second. In most murder investigations, especially ones involving this level of violence inside a private residence, police typically have some direction within the first few hours. A suspect who fled. A person of interest they want to question. Evidence pointing somewhere specific. But Hamilton's statement was deliberately measured, almost careful in what it didn't say. He did mention that detectives were interviewing family members to establish facts and build a timeline. Standard procedure, right? Absolutely. In any homicide that occurs inside someone's home, investigators start with the inner circle. Who had keys? Who knew their schedules? Who saw them last? What were the family dynamics? Were there any recent conflicts, financial pressures, relationship tensions that people outside the home wouldn't know about? These questions aren't accusations. They're foundational investigative work.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. I'm the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm going to give a brief statement, and then we're going to address any questions that we can. I understand there are going to be questions regarding what occurred here tonight. I will not be able to provide information in a lot of areas that questions may be getting asked, but I'll do the best I can. So at approximately 3:40 this afternoon, Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourn Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence. The Los Angeles Police Department is now conducting an investigation at this residence here on Chadbourne, and that investigation will continue over the coming days. We will not be releasing any information regarding who was found deceased in the residence, because that will be done by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. So if there are any inquiries regarding the identity of the individuals that are deceased inside of the residence, that information will come from the LA County Coroner's Office. The current death investigation that is being conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department is going to be handled by the Homicide Special Section of Robbery-Homicide Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. That investigation will move forward through the night, and tomorrow morning we will probably have additional information regarding what occurred here on Chadbourne and our investigation moving forward. We will not be releasing any further information regarding the investigation that is occurring here in Brentwood tonight. Our detectives will be responding along with our Forensic Science Division and our Technical Investigation Division investigators to conduct a full crime scene investigation and determine the appropriateness of the investigation moving forward. At this time, the Los Angeles Police Department is not seeking anyone as a suspect or as a person of interest or in any other manner, and we will not be doing that until we conduct our investigation and we move forward. That's all I have right now at this early preliminary stage of this investigation. If you have questions that I can answer, I will answer them. I would just ask you, please, if we do not have the ability to answer the questions, that you remain patient over the coming hours and over the coming days. Starting tomorrow morning, we will be responding and providing additional information as it becomes publicly available. Pete. So we understand that the person reporting was here at the location. We're not going to release any information regarding the identity of that individual at this time. Hold on. One at a time, please. There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation. I'm sorry.
Why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, so I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation. Now, when I tell you that we have not identified a suspect, it doesn't mean that we're not working the case. We will not identify a suspect until that person is identified as a suspect and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported and if that person is a suspect in that crime. Hold on. Did that answer your question, sir?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Has anyone been detained yet for questioning? Are you questioning people now that could be possible suspects and or a person or persons of interest?
Specifically to your first question, no one has been detained. Specifically to your second question, no one is being interviewed as a suspect.
What were the injuries?
We're not gonna comment on the injuries at this time. That information will be coming forward in the coming days as it's publicly releasable. If it is part of the investigation and it is not publicly releasable, we will not be releasing it. Hold on. One at a time. Whoa. Hold up. One at a time. This gentleman is next.
Are your detectives inside the home right now, or are they getting access to the home right now as we speak?
We're waiting for the legal process to move forward. We have to obtain a search warrant for the residence. As soon as that is complied with, we will be conducting a full crime scene investigation on the interior and the exterior of the residence and the surrounding neighborhood.
Just to follow up, Deputy Chief, is there somebody from the family not allowing detectives inside the home right now?
That's inconsequential. We have to comply with the legal process. It doesn't matter whether the family allows us in or not. Hold on, ma'am.
Have the family members been notified? The victim's family members been notified?
Have the family been notified of what? That an incident occurred here?
There were 2 victims.
I believe the family is aware.
In other words, why are you not releasing their names
That's going to be the Los Angeles County coroner that releases the information.
Chief, is this a homicide?
Ma'am, go ahead. Your question first.
Yes. Is this a homicide?
At this time, it's a death investigation. Again, until we get inside and we make a determination, we can't call it anything. So we're going to conduct that Hold on. We're going to conduct that investigation at the appropriate time. We will identify what kind of incident it is, and if it's determined to be a crime, we will seek the suspect, we will bring them to justice, and we will take them into custody.
But here's the reality we need to acknowledge together. When police say they're focused on family interviews and there's no outside suspect being pursued, public perception shifts fast. People start wondering. Speculation begins. And for a family already drowning in grief, that speculation becomes another layer of trauma. One local news outlet reported that a son was reportedly a suspect, but, and I cannot stress this enough, the LAPD has not confirmed that information. In fact, it contradicts everything Deputy Chief Hamilton said in his official statement. So where does that leave us? We're watching a family torn apart by violence while simultaneously being examined under a microscope. We're seeing rumors spread faster than facts. And we're left trying to separate what's real from what's speculation fueled by the internet's need for immediate answers. Tracy Reiner, Rob's daughter from his first marriage, spoke briefly to reporters, and her pain was raw and undeniable. She said she was in shock, speechless. She came from the greatest family ever and couldn't find words for what she was feeling. That's not a prepared statement. That's not media training. That's a daughter who just lost her father and stepmother and is trying to function while her entire world collapses. By Sunday evening, word had spread throughout Hollywood's tight-knit community. Billy Crystal arrived at the Reiner home, his face showing the kind of grief that comes from losing someone you've known for decades. Larry David showed up separately. These weren't casual acquaintances making appearances for the cameras. These were genuine friends showing up in the worst moment, because that's what you do when someone you love is taken. Imagine arriving at your friend's house and seeing police tape, knowing he's inside but you can't reach him, can't tell him one last thing, can't make any of this make sense. The forensic team worked through the night. Every surface examined. Every potential piece of evidence collected and cataloged. Blood spatter patterns analyzed. Entry and exit points checked. Phone records pulled. Security footage from the neighborhood reviewed frame by frame. This is meticulous, exhausting work that can take days or weeks to process fully, and every hour that passes without an arrest adds to the family's agony and the community's fear. Because let's talk about what this does to Brentwood itself. This isn't a neighborhood accustomed to violent crime. People pay premium prices specifically for the illusion of safety, for gates and distance from danger. Now that illusion is shattered. Who was in that house, and why did this happen? The outpouring of grief from public figures was immediate and overwhelming. Governor Gavin Newsom described Rob as a big-hearted genius behind timeless stories, noting his boundless empathy made his work resonate across generations. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass called it a devastating loss for the city and nation, emphasizing how deeply Rob's contributions shaped American culture. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, who had worked alongside Michele on various social justice initiatives, expressed shock and heartbreak. Nancy Pelosi released a statement calling the assault on Rob and Michele devastating, describing them as remarkable people who excelled in every endeavor they pursued. The Norman Lear family, who considered Rob practically family, shared that Norman had always referred to Rob as a son, highlighting a bond that transcended professional relationships. These weren't obligatory political statements. These were people genuinely mourning friends they loved and respected. The Reiner family released their own statement late Sunday night. Short and direct. They announced the tragic passing of Michele and Rob, expressed their heartbreak, and asked for privacy during an unbelievably difficult time. While they tried to process their grief privately, the world refused to look away. Social media platforms exploded with theories. Was this a burglary that escalated? A stalker who'd been watching them? Something connected to their activism that made them targets? Or was it closer to home, something internal that nobody saw coming? The silence from investigators only amplified the speculation, creating a vacuum that strangers felt entitled to fill with their own narratives. Think about what that does to a grieving family. You're trying to plan funerals, comfort children and grandchildren, figure out how to exist in a world where your loved ones were violently ripped away. And simultaneously, millions of people online are dissecting your life, your relationships, your possible motives. The cruelty of that can't be overstated. This is why I keep saying we need facts, not speculation. We need patience, not rushed judgment. Monday morning arrived with everyone waiting for the promised LAPD update. Detectives continued processing evidence, building timelines, conducting interviews. They were examining the victims' final days and hours. Who called them? Who visited? Were there any unusual interactions, any threats explicit or implied, any changes in behavior that might indicate they felt unsafe? The Robbery-Homicide Division was leaving nothing unexamined because they know the world is watching and this family deserves answers. What makes this investigation particularly complex is who Michele and Michele were beyond their home. They weren't just private citizens living quiet lives. They were activists who'd taken on powerful institutions and won. When you fight for marriage equality against well-funded opposition, when you challenge systems and change laws, you create adversaries. Some people celebrate you. Others despise you. Does that have anything to do with what happened Sunday? We don't know. But investigators have to consider whether their public work made them targets for someone's hatred. The broader implications of this case extend far beyond one family's tragedy. Brentwood residents are genuinely frightened now. If Michele and Rob could be murdered in their own home during daylight hours despite all their resources and security, what does that mean for everyone else? The psychological impact of violence in spaces we consider safe cannot be understated. Our homes are supposed to be sanctuaries. When that sanctity is violated, especially in a neighborhood that prides itself on being insulated from danger, the ripple effects touch everyone. Michele dedicated her life to making the world better. She fought for people who couldn't fight for themselves. She used her platform and resources to create lasting change. Rob told stories that made us laugh, cry, and feel deeply human. He gave us characters we'll never forget and moments that became part of our cultural DNA. Now their story has become one of those cases that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about safety, about trust, about how quickly everything can change. So here's what I want you to think about. How do we honor Michele's legacy of activism and justice while respecting her family's need for privacy and space to grieve? What responsibility do we have as a community watching this unfold to demand answers without turning real people's pain into entertainment? And what does it say about our society that we can't seem to let families mourn without inserting ourselves into their darkest moments? Share your thoughts in the comments below, but please, let's keep it respectful. Share this video because Michele and Rob deserve justice, and cases like this need sustained attention to keep investigations moving forward. If you haven't already, subscribe to She's Alive and hit that notification bell so you don't miss updates as this story develops. We'll stay on this together until answers come. Thank you for watching, and please hold your loved ones a little tighter tonight.